here. I'm here today to do my February reading wrap up. I wound up completing reading and listening to about 14 books. I actually had a really good reading month. I was super proud of myself. I actually started listening to stuff again. I did talk about this earlier, but I was doing the global reread of Harry Potter with the Harry Potter book club. And it just got to be a tad too much, especially when I got sick in January. I kind of fell off the bandwagon. I still am doing my Alohomora re-listen. That is something I definitely want to make progress with, but I did stop listening to the audiobooks. I would love to listen to them eventually, but I just have a lot of things I want to listen to. So I did stop with that, but I did wind up complete listening to 2 books and start listening to another, which is super exciting. But yeah, I actually had a really good reading month. Was not sick this month, and I got a lot of reading done, and I have so many fun books planned for March. And I did start reading a book as well, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video. But yeah, let's get into what I read in February. Reading for the month of February was Charmed and a Curse by Jamie Quisella. I got this book from Untangled Teen for my non-biased opinions, and I did do a blog post on my blog, and I did wound up doing a giveaway. We'll be sending out this giveaway next week. So I'm excited for the winner to get their book. But yeah, overall I really liked it. It's definitely a darker fantasy or paranormal story. Basically follows this girl named Emmeline, I think they call her M, in the story, and a traveling circus comes to her town. But when she is captured by a curse, she has to try to break it. And you get several different point of views, and I really liked it. I thought it was definitely a grittier paranormal story, and I don't always read a lot of paranormal stories. They're just not my normal genre, but I really liked it. I thought that it was a very, very satisfying, standalone. It's definitely a standalone book, but I really liked it, and I would definitely be interested by reading more by this author in the future. But yeah, definitely check it out. I thought it was a super fast-paced, creepy read, and I really liked the world building, even though it was a standalone. I thought it was very, very well done. Was The Missing Marquise, which is written by Nancy Spinner. But I'm a big fan of Stranger Things, and I love the actress that plays Eleven, and she will be starring in the movie adaptation of this series, so I at least wanted to read it. So I had the first story in my head. I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. It's definitely inspired by Sherlock Holmes because she is the younger sister of Sherlock Holmes, but I really liked it, and I thought that it was just such a fun story. It's definitely middle grade, definitely a short read, but I actually really liked it. I'll be curious to see where the other stories go, because I feel like that even though each story does have a case, there will be an overarching case over all of the books, which I'll be really intrigued to read. I don't know when I'm gonna read the next one. I may just get it from my library when I have some downtime, but they're also super short. But overall, I really liked it, and I gave it 3 stars. And if you're interested in knowing what Millie Bobby Brown will be starring in, you should check it out as well. Is another Comic-Con pick, and it was People Like Us by Dana Mille. And this came out in the beginning of February. It's definitely a psychological thriller. On the back, I think it's a sharp psychological thriller that's just right for fans of 13 Reasons Why, Pretty Little Liars. This story will seduce, mislead, and finally betray you. I really did like this. I gave this book 4 stars, but I've said this before, and I will say it again. I always somewhat have issues with unreliable or unlikable narrators. Kay was not that bad, but she did have moments where I was just like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you making those choices? But I thought that the mystery was really interesting, and it's kind of like 13 Reasons Why, because it's like such a layered story. Like every single time you get a piece of the puzzle, you're like, oh my god, that is to that. And I do like the element of Pretty Little Liars because there's definitely a killer on the loose. And there is just several deaths that happen in the school. But it's basically about this girl who they wind up finding a dead body on Halloween night. And she winds up getting roped into basically trying to crack who killed this girl and what are the reasonings behind it. And she has basically a hit list that she has to do things that will not get her answers to who is the murderer. But then when Kay winds up becoming implicated in the murder, it takes a very, very dangerous and scary turn. So it was really, really good. I did like it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was one day I would love to reread this because I would love to read it knowing now what I know, because it's definitely the ending's kind of a shocker. but I did like it, and I would be interested in reading more by this author in the future. But if you do like 13 Reasons Why, and you do like Pretty Little Liars, and you're okay with unlikable narrators, I would recommend that you check it out. It just wasn't my favorite psychological mystery, but I did enjoy it. Is another pick from New York City Comic Con, and this is Black Star Renegades by Michael Mordici. This came out in January. I will have a space book roundup where I talk about a bunch of the space theme books that I read, and this book is in that. But it basically follows this guy named Cade. And he lives on another planet, and he and his brother are sent on a mission to retrieve a item that will make his brother Tristan the savior of his world. But when something goes horribly wrong, Cade is sent into a position that he never anticipated, and he has to go on this massive adventure. But when he kind of develops a crew of unlikable friends, it turns it's just a really, really fun adventure novel. I do talk about a lot in that space book roundup. I think it will be up maybe the beginning of March, so definitely go out there. But I did like it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that it was a very easy to read science fiction story. There was a little bit that went over my head, but not too much. And I really enjoyed it. Definitely like Cade as a main character. We did get various perspectives from other people, but I will be curious to see where book 2 goes, because it kind of ended on, even though it did end on like a cliffhanger, I was satisfied it was a beginning, middle, and end of a story, and I'll be curious to see where book 2 goes. I know he's written other things before. I definitely like Kira in the story as well, but I really liked it, and I will definitely be checking out book 2. But if you want more information about the plot and stuff, go check out my space book roundup. I think I'm going to probably post it in the beginning of March, so go check that out. In the Owl Crate Readathon this month, and I did complete my 2 books, so I was really excited. The first book I read was The Heart That We Sold by Emily Lloyd Jones. This book came in the August box, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Basically, it's definitely a paranormal book, which I said this before, I don't read a lot of paranormal stories because they're just not my genre, but I really did enjoy this one. It basically follows a society where demons have revealed themselves to the public, and when you can ask demons for favors, but when you submit to get favors, you have to give the demon something. Most of the time, it's like a body part, and that's how the society knows that you're in the favor of working for a demon. But when the main character, Dee, decides to give herself over to a demon to get something that she really wants, she realizes she has to give up her heart, which is something super unexpected. But when she gives up her heart, she's basically in service to this demon for 2 years. And she winds up having to solve a mystery along the way, but it's actually really good. It's a very, very solid standalone. I really love the world building in this book, like a lot. I will definitely probably do a mashup. I did talk about it. I'm doing a giveaway for Glass Spare, but I don't think that's going to come out till the end of the month, so keep a nose out for that, because I do talk a little bit about it. But overall, I really like this book, and I definitely would like to read more by Emily Lloyd Jones in the future, but it was definitely a solid standalone. If you're looking for a really good standalone, this is one that I would recommend. It was a book that I got from NetGalley, and it's called #PrettyBoyMustDie. Corresponds with my Pop Sugar Reading Challenge for author that has a different ethnicity than you. Kimberly Reed is African American woman, and so is the lead character in this book. But it's basically loosely inspired by the Alex at Target thing, where this picture of this kid goes viral. But it takes it kind of on an unexpected twist when a picture of someone is posted, and it kind of shattered his cover because he is an undercover CIA operative. It is definitely a thriller. I really liked it. It was so fast-paced. There was so many twists and turns in the novel that was really, really hard to see where it was going. I love the corporate espionage. I love the spy thriller element, and I just enjoyed the lead character so much. And I loved all of his friends that we got to meet throughout the novel. It was definitely a super fun, fast-paced thriller, and I really liked it. I would love to read more by this author in the future. And thank you, NetGalley, for sending me an e-copy and allowing me to review it, because I really enjoyed it. And that goes to the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and it is a book set in the decade that you were born, which is the 1980s. I was born in 1987. Do the math and you'll know how old I am. But this is a book that I got from Penguin at New York City Comic Con, and it is a Play Your Way book. Normally I love these. I am not the biggest I'm not the biggest video game fan, but I did like playing with it, and there are two versions. There's Crypt Quest and Space Battles. I kept dying, so I think I played through each version of this, because you could play it as the Crypt Quest or you could play it as the Space Battles. I think I played each once, and I just never won. I just never won, which was fine. But I really liked it. I thought that it was so much fun. And if you have like kind of reluctant readers who really do like video games, I think that they would like this. I preferred Crypt Quest, but I did like Space Battles as well. I just would love to have a chance. I'm gonna probably give this to the kids that I work with at the gym and think that they might like it a little bit more than I did. But I think it's just super fun, and I would definitely read more in this series in the future because I really do like them and they're kind of fun to read. Another book for the Owl Crate Readathon is At the Glass Spare, and this came in November 1, Castle Courts and something else. But I really did like this book. I think I gave this book like 4.5 stars. It did have some predictable elements. That's why I had to knock off a half star. But I actually really liked it. Basically follows this series of kingdoms where magic is kind of not the magic isn't always popular in the society. And she lives in a family where she is one of four siblings, but she's the only girl. So her father utilizes her as a spy to get what he wants. But when she is caught in a dangerous situation, she winds up igniting some powers that she didn't know was possible, and that kind of sets in a causes a catastrophic event in her life and sends her on the run. I really liked her as a lead. I love the various perspectives that we got. I wish we would have got more of those perspectives on the tail end of this novel, because something happened and I wanted to know what the impact is with the other perspectives. I definitely love her brother in this book, Gertie. He's like a science-minded guy and I really liked him. I'm intrigued to see what book 2 is. It's only a duology, but I will definitely be checking it out. I love this cover. This cover is going on my keep shelf. And this was also part of the backlist challenge as well that I'm doing. But overall, I really liked it, and I do talk about this book more in the giveaway that I'm doing, because I'm hosting an art giveaway of this at the end of the month, so keep a nose out for that. But overall, I really liked it, and I gave it 4.5. Completing was the second book of my Cinda Williams Chimer reread, and that's The Wizard Heir. This is definitely my favorite book in this series that I've read so far. I haven't read the last two books, but I love Steph. I definitely remembered the second half of this novel more than the first half of this novel, but I really did enjoy it. Steph is great, and I just love this book so much. I said it before in a bunch of my other reviews. This is a great basic fantasy series. This book series is billed as a companion series because technically, like, you don't have to read them in order. But I think that they do lead to a satisfying conclusion, so I would recommend that you do read them in order. I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and there was so much surprises in this book. I hadn't read this since I was in high school that I even forgot some of the massive twists. My review is both spoiler review and non-spoiler, so there's a point where I say, like, don't watch if you don't want to be spoiled, because I do talk spoilers, but most of it is non-spoiler. But overall, I really liked it. If you want more information about this, go check out my video review. It will be up later in March. Second anthology book that I decided to read this month, and this was Three Sides of a Heart. I really had great success when I read Meet Cute last month. However, this anthology just was not my favorite. I wound up reading, I would say, 12 of the stories. I didn't read 2 of them because I just was not clicking with this. And I think I've said this before. I am not the biggest fan of Insta-love at all, and I just think that the fact that it was basically love triangles where you had to become emotionally invested, like page 1, I just could not do it. I thought that some of them were kind of interesting, and I think my favorite was one of them was Triangle Solo, which I really liked. Lessons for Beginners was one I also did like, and Omega Ship was one I did like. But the other ones just did not make a big enough impression on me, and I wanted like more time to become invested in it. It wasn't my favorite. I won't be doing a video review on it, but I will be doing a post on my blog. It just was really hard for me to become connected to them so fast, and I really struggled with this anthology. I almost didn't finish it, but I did want to finish it so I can at least review it for you guys, or try to anyway, but it just was not my favorite short story collection. I don't know what short story collection I'm going to read next month. I'm still deciding, so I will talk about that in my March TBR. But overall, it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. If you like romance books and you're like a hardcore, you might actually like this, because, or if you are okay with insta love, or, quick meet cutes that turn into love, I think you might like this more than I did. But overall, I gave it 3 stars, and there are some authors I will be checking out after reading this anthology, but I wasn't a big fan of all the stories in this collection. moved on from listening to the Harry Potter books just because I really wanted to read some of my books, just make some progress on some of my audiobooks because I hadn't completed an audiobook in 2018 and that was becoming slightly depressing because I wanted to read I want to read a lot. I want to listen to a lot this year. So the first book that I wound up complete listening to was Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare. Was the first time I listened to it. I am finally done with the Shadowhunter Academy of all the books that I have read so far. I love Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy. If you go back a couple of years, you could probably find my first review of this. I loved it. I loved Simon so much, and he is basically the star of this series, but I also love the cameos by all the Shadowhunters people, especially Clary, and Isabel. I just love them so much. There was some emotional parts that I definitely did not forget, and they have still traumatized me because she made a choice that I was very, very upset about, which of course is good storytelling. But yeah, I'm so excited to read Lady Midnight. I again don't know when it's gonna happen. I want to read it before June. That's my goal, so hopefully that will happen. But yeah, I really love this. I love listening to it, and I cannot wait to start Lady Midnight. This reading was a BookCon pick, Proof of Lives by Diana Rodriguez Waltz, and ironically, I actually know her niece. I met her niece at BookCon, and we have become really good friends, and she wound up helping me get a copy of this, and I'm also on the blog tour for the second book, but it basically follows this girl named Anastasia Phoenix, and the book starts with her parents dying in a car wreck, which is, it's like literally in the first page, and then 3 years later, she is living with her older sister, and they throw a party at her house, and the next day she opens up the bathroom door to find the bathtub covered in blood and her sister gone. Everyone thinks her sister is dead, but she is not so convinced. But when something comes up, she realizes that her life may be a lie, and it sends her on an epic adventure to Italy, which is also part of the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge because I am 100% Italian, so this does fit that. But I love this book so much. I gave it 4.5 stars. I was so impressed by it. I loved how she wrote about Italy. I've never been to Italy, but I just love the setting. I love the spy elements. I love how strong Anastasia was. Anastasia is the type of girl I want to be. Anastasia is so much braver than I am. People think she's crazy, but I love the various boys we got. I thought there were so many twists and turns in this novel, and I cannot wait to read book 2 that I got an e-arc of. It's definitely going to be read in March because I'm on the tour for it. But I love this book. If you're looking for a kind of a unique spy thriller, I do recommend it. There is a really cute romance in this book as well, and I loved it. I was just so impressed by it, and I cannot wait for you guys to check it out. I will be doing a video review of the second book, so I will tag this on. But overall, I really liked it, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So if you're looking for kind of a unique spy thriller, I would definitely recommend you check out Proof of Lies. Listening to in February was Sandry's book, The Circle of Magic by Tamora Pierce. I started this book when the Alexa Love Books was doing their reread, and I felt so far behind. And I did actually, this was not the best listening experience because I listened to half the book and then I stopped and then I listened to the other half of the book. So eventually I'm going to have to re-listen to this and re-listen it to all the way through. They're really not that long. They're like 5 hours, but I just got so distracted with my Harry Potter re-listening. But I really grew to love this book. I gave it 4 stars, and that's just because I think I forgot a lot in my 2 listening gaps. But I really liked it. I definitely cannot wait to read Triss's book, and I will probably do like a mashup review once I've finished reading Triss's book and the other 4. But I really like this. Again, I don't know how Tamora Pierce books have flew so far under the radar for me. It's funny because I own like 6 of them. I just don't know why I never read them. But I'm really excited. I love the magic system, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the next book in the series. I ended up reading 11 books and listening to 2. I also started reading 1 and started listening to another one, which I will discuss in my March TBR because this video has gotten super long. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite read and listen for the month, and I'll talk to you guys in March. Bye!